Hi, welcome back. This is Debbie. In this video, we're going to talk about gift bags and gift boxes and how packaging is extremely important to your product. As you can see, I'm looking at two packages and one is far more elaborate than the other. Let's look at the House of Flames gift bag. If I right click on this and say edit, you can see where my cursor is. This is one object that has 7 prim. So the 7 prim are basically, let me show you, we're going to build a box. We're going to taper that box. Let's see, we want to taper. See, you can see that I'm tapering in the bottom. Okay, we're going to taper the bottom. I'm going to hollow it out. Okay, and this is basically now the shape of the gift bag, as you can see. Maybe I'm going to hollow it out just a little bit more. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of half rounds and I am going to hollow those out as well. And you can see how this each click is making it a little bit more. Okay, so now that's something of a handle. And all I have to do is match that up size-wise. And I'm not going to build the whole thing, but you get the idea. Okay, and then they just need to be textured. And then the inside, which is the tissue paper, is basically just another very small square that's going to be, I want to say, tissue paper thin, and then it's going to be upended a little bit so it looks like it was just stuck in there. So maybe I need to make it just a wee bit smaller. So you get the idea. Okay, so what happens with the tissue paper is that this tissue paper is going to be almost transparent. So when you go to the texture, I can make this anything. Let's say I want to make it linen, and I have linen as a fabric, and I'll say okay, and let's just say I want to make it yellow. But the key to making it look like tissue paper is in the transparency. So you can see now that that mimics tissue paper. I can make it bright tissue paper. Now you want to make sure that how many things you make bright or lights don't sit in close proximity of each other. I have made this basket a full bright by clicking on this, and that means it's just easy to see. So most of everything in here is full bright, so it's easier to see. The bigger thing is, how do I transport this as one unit? And you can see I've got the one prim, the tissue paper, highlighted. If I hold my shift key down and click on the other items that I want to include in this, you can see over here now I've got 3 objects and 3 prim. But if I want to lock them together so that if I give it to someone or sell it, it's going to be in the same shape, I need to hit my Command L. And you can see that it changes color, and the last thing I clicked will remain yellow, highlighted in yellow. And keep that in mind because clicking order and linking order is going to be important in some cases, especially when we talk about resfo. So now if I click off of that, you can see now if I click back on it and highlight it, say edit, I've got one object that's 3 prim, and this now can be moved all together. It's no longer separate. To unlink them, I hit Control Shift Link, and now you can see everything changes color again. But if I key in one item, say like the basket moves and everything else doesn't, and I'm back to having disparate items. Okay, so that's how you do that. Bigger issue is in this bigger box here. Okay, and this box, as you can see, has one item and 13 prim. I can't remember what the highest number of prim you can have. I've bought pieces of furniture that have, I think, 30 or so prim in it. So in that case, you can still lock these and link them in an item that's got several prim and can, be transported or sold or transferred. Where you get into more difficulty is when you have bigger items like homes and other buildings and vehicles and things that have a lot of prim to them. That's where you have to come up with a different solution for packaging them, and that's where Resfo comes in, and we'll talk about Resfo in another video. So in this case, you've got 13 prim. Most of them are tied up in this bow, and I'm going to click off of this, and you can see that this bow is fairly complicated. I'll show you how to do some pieces of it, but you may want to get somebody to help you if you want to get into something that's really dramatic. To make a basic box is no big deal. Let me go back and we'll build a basic box. Let me do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just elongate it so that it's kind of an oval. And then I'm going to hold my shift button down and a directional arrow. And if I do that and pull, it will make a second version. So I've got a bottom and I've got a top. If I hit Control Shift and pull at a white corner so that it's proportionately everything increases, what I then can do is I can then squish it, and I am going to have a top for my box. Now, I'm not measuring this to really center it or anything like that in the interest of time. But there is a simple box and a lid, and I could texture those and be all fancy and do whatever I want. Now the bow's a little different. Say I have a bow, I've got to start with a knot. So if I make the knot and maybe even flatten the knot down a little bit, I probably could have done that easier when it was bigger. So I've kind of flattened my knot. Now let's say I wanted to, let's do some of the ribbon. Here is a cylinder. What I'm going to do is flatten the cylinder a bit. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to twist all the way on one way. I'm going to twist all the way another way, which doesn't look like much until I start to hollow it out. Oops. Path cut and then hollow. And now you can see that it starts to take on the shape of a curlicue. So now this path cut I can do a little bit better even. And let's see, what else do I have? Okay, so what I've got, let me elongate it. If I've got a simple piece of ribbon. I can make that thinner. I can do a lot of other things with it. The key with the ribbon is going to be to make it trail off that center. And then the other thing that I can do is make what appears to be a loop. And if I cut this path, let's say like that. There's many ways to do this, so I'm sure there are people who have a whole lot more going for them than I do, because I don't fancy myself a builder. Okay, so let's say I get that kind of thin, and then what I'm going to do is, let me get over here so I can see it better. I'm going to squish this down kind of into a bow, and then I'm going to have that appear to be coming out of the knot. I mean, you get the idea.